This hadith is a warning against simply spreading information without verifying it. And this is a principle we see in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And how easy has it become in the times that we're living in today for information to spread without it being verified. How many times people will make tweets, posts, will spread things on WhatsApp, people will fabricate videos, will cut videos out and make a whole story about a person, and it will be spread around and people will believe it. There's so many times I've personally seen where a 1 minute clip or a 2 minute clip will be spread around and you will be convinced this person is a'udhu billah, Allahu musta'an, look at what they're saying. But when you actually search and actually do your homework and find out what the real story is and you see the full video, you'll find out that the whole thing is fabricated. They might have cut clips from a different place, from different parts, and put it together, and they just edited the whole thing, and the person was actually saying something that is correct, but because people wanted to shame them or whatever it might be, and fabricate and make a lie about them, they completely fabricate a video about them, and everybody's spreading it. People don't even verify. They get a video message on their phone, they watch it, a'udhu billah, they spread it to a group they're in, 100 people. The other one spreads it again. No verification, nothing. That's not the way the Muslim is supposed to be, right? Especially when it comes to talking about people now, right? And it's dealing with people's honor and people's status and people's reputation. You can't simply just spread the rumor and keep it going. That's what society pushes, right? We live in this tabloid society where it's all about exposing people and, did you hear what happened to so-and-so? Did you hear what happened to this individual, this athlete, this celebrity, this politician, this person in the community? And people are just spreading it without no verification, right? That happens online. That happens in person. Somebody comes to you and they tell you something in confidence, in private, between you and them, and then the person goes to another person and says, "Ya akhi, I have something to tell you, but it's a secret thing. Keep it between us." You've already told the person. How do you know this person is going to hold on to it? You couldn't even hold on to it yourself. You couldn't even keep the secret from the person telling you. He told you keep it between us, and you here telling them, "Ya akhi, khaliha bayni wa baynak," and you tell him, let it stay between us, and you're telling him as well. The whole community knows that. It's a done deal. Everybody knows about that. It's out of the bag now, right?
You know what I was thinking about, ladies and gentlemen, in the black community, the majority of black people say that they're Christian. And we know saying that you're Christian and everything with Christianity and how it was fed to us even during slavery taught us to be docile, taught us to, we'll have a better life in the sweet by and by. We need to turn the other cheek. But I thought, what if the majority of black Americans was Islamic? Because when you look at Islam, they don't believe in all that turn the other cheek. They believe in the law of retaliation. They believe in keeping their family structure real tight and together. Like, if you look into the principles of Islam, they have a very, very strict code about family and sticking together and whatever. I think if I had a choice to say what religion all black Americans would be, I say black Americans should have been Islam.
These Negroes aren't asking for no nation. They're trying to crawl back on the plantation. A revolution is bloody. Revolution is hostile. Revolution knows no compromise. Revolution overturns and destroys everything that gets in its way. And you sitting around here like a knot on the wall saying I'm going to love these folks no matter how much they hate me. No, you need a revolution.
Men are taught that they have to make women happy. The fact of the matter is, you can't make anybody happy. You have to make yourself happy. Happiness is a byproduct of achievement. So for women to say that they're unhappy, it's their own fault. Anybody who says he's unhappy, it's his own fault.
Mark,
Everybody has to make himself or herself happy.
You're giving me such a bloody headache. Yeah, I mean, where are you from? Where are you from? Dear Lord, I would never in a million years teach my girls that they have to grow up to be reliant on a man, as you can well imagine. I would never teach my son that he should be attracted.
But Tracy, you're the same one. You're the same one who brags that she's so strong and so tough and doesn't need a man's money. Yet you're taking alimony.
City boy, city boy. Got him. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
Oh my God, 1 second. 1 second, guys. All right. Just trying to cue this up here. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hateheads. Welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here. And today's live is a long time coming. This is a subject that I've never seen anybody from the wider Muslim community actually address. And we've been touching up on it, on the features here. We've been, trying to touch up on it here and there. However, this is such a long time coming. And now we are just going to call it what it is. Family, you got to understand that silence is not always silence. Silence is also a statement. What you have happening all over your social media, in Muslim social media, with these YouTubian elites causing all of this mess. And they are talking all kind of craziness and nonsense and trying to invite the black grassroots to come and fight with them over the issues of Muslim leadership, correct? I mean, this is what they do. They want us, here's the thing. Black people have a history of fighting for every single people groups, their wars for them. Since the Civil War, Black people have been fighting every other people groups their fights. Every other people groups. Fought in World War I, fought in World War II, fought in Vietnam, fought in Iraq, fought in Afghanistan, fight. Always fighting for somebody else. Now we become Muslim and we got to fight other people's arguments. This centuries-old argument ain't got nothing to do with us between the the Salafis and the Asharis. Ain't got nothing to do with us. Okay? But we get invited into that fight. Okay? The Sufis versus the Wahhabis. Got nothing to do with us. But we have to take sides on behalf of, foreigners. We have to take sides. When we respectfully decline, it's not enough. So then we start asking some questions. Okay, Zaddy, okay. We need to ask you some stuff. What y'all say about the slavery that's going on all over the Arab world against Africans? Absolute silence. Then the non-Muslims start chiming in. And they're talking crazy. They're talking crazy. Yeah, like we gave you the example yesterday. How they just talking about some madness. However, why are other non-Muslims listening to them? It's because of the silence. Silence is not just silence. Silence is also a statement. Silence can be an approval. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, he was asked, about marriage and stuff, marriage. And if a man approaches a woman in marriage and she remains silent, that is her approval, okay? That's these guys. They can't say they approve because it's going to look bad if they say it. So they remain silent as a means of plausible deniability. So you have this phenomenon where Arabs feel that they are absolutely superior to Black Africans in our time. And not only that, they have no problems at all committing all manner of crime against Black people. And what have your YouTubian Dai elite said about it? Scour the internet. Scour it. They say absolutely nothing about that, okay? Literally nothing. They have no work whatsoever against forced prostitution of Black African women. Like nothing, okay? Black African women being raped, killed, molested. Black African men being tortured, forced labor, all kind of stuff. They got nothing to say about that. But the second they come around Zaddy, what they talking about?
And I don't mean you personally, but we can say things like, well, the West is not bearing sufficient responsibility for its colonial past. And so at some level, that kind of devolves down to the individual. It's
so
like,
let me kind of rephrase it then. I think that's more of a left-wing criticism. It's like, there's reparations and affirmative action programs. I'm not advocating any of that, and nor do I even believe in any of that, to be honest with you.
Nor me.
Yeah, so what I was putting as an alternative to that is this.
Told you. You see, they remember you when they're ready to advocate against you in front of Zaddy. Y'all hearing me? They're not about that life of making, family ties, brotherly ties, Islamic brotherly ties with Negroes. They're not about that life. You Negroes are about that life. You Negroes always, ready to forgive your oppressor. What did Malcolm X say?
These Negroes aren't asking for no nation. They're trying to crawl back on the plantation. Because revolution is bloody. Revolution is hostile. Revolution knows no compromise. Revolution overturns and destroys everything that gets in its way. And you sitting around here like a knot on the wall saying, I'm going to love these folks no matter how much they hate me. No, you need a revolution.
That's you. Always about this love your enemy stuff. Always about that stuff. These people are expressing their undying disdain for you. And you're out here expressing your undying love for them. Y'all hearing me? But what we're going to do now is we're going to watch this video, okay? And we're going to do a reaction to it. Then we're going to come to the blatant Arab supremacy has taken place that none, not a single one of your YouTubian that elites want to address, but they want to invite you to go fight against their leaders. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. Let's get to it, family.
Address some there. Let's go ahead and roll it.
No, this
you got in these places, and brother, the one just kind of address some.
No, this is the point that you guys need to understand. You can label African, you can demonize, you can deny your own tendency to be evil. You can argue supremacy because you have it. Deny all things, pretend like it doesn't exist, like you're not racist. But the truth is, African lives don't matter in Arab countries, and that is a fact. That's the most inhumane society where any African live. Go.
Is there anyone in the chat right now that wants to come and challenge this statement? Just type yes or no in the chat if you want to challenge this. See, I got to put a rewind on that. Let's put a rewind on that, please.
That you guys need to understand. You can label Africa. You can deny to be evil, like it doesn't exist, like you're not racist. But the truth is, our lives don't matter Arab countries, and that is a fact. That's the most inhumane society where any African can live.
Is there any one of you who wants to come and defend your Arab zaddies? Please come to the chat. Yes, if you want to defend. No, if you don't. Yes, if you want to defend your Arab zaddies. No, if you don't. No, I agree with this Nigerian brother, what he's saying. Just put it in the chat. We're gonna tell some truth today. How many times have we talked about the Libyan slave trade up until this very day? We put this out 2.5 years ago. And not one of your YouTubian elites address that, but you have all kinds of YouTube channels bringing a hard right turn politically in front of the Muslims. Let's keep going.
Go and verify, check online. In Africa and some other some other Arab countries, they publicize marginalizing Blackans as slaves. And through the application, you can buy Black Africans as slaves in many Arab countries. Many Arab verified. So now you pretend that this you are made, there is nothing godly about you. And I'm not saying.
Is there anybody who wants to challenge this guy and what he's saying? Where are the detractors?
All Arabs are like this because my best friend is an Arab and it's different, but I'm addressing your system. It is a system that has been sustained for years and it is anti-Africans. It is anti-Africans. Africans are not welcome in Arab countries and African lives don't matter. That's the point to you.
Now look, we're going to come back to this video, but he said Africans are not welcome in Arab countries, correct? Somebody might say, oh, that's anecdotal. Where's your proof? What's your evidence that Arabs don't want Africans in their countries? He's just angry. He's an angry Black African dude. Okay. Somebody might say that. See, this is the thing. We put all this stuff out live, right? We have all these people like every single week in the comments, and we invite them. You're the detractor. Come on the channel if you're brave. They never, ever show up. All they do is, and you can go to the comment section of most of my videos, you'll see them. They just spouting their venom. And why do we allow them to do that? It's because we want you to see what your enemies think of you. Okay? They will be bearded, thawed up, kofia'd up, everything. But they're your enemies. They are against you. So he says that Arabs don't want Africans in their countries. Is this anecdotal or is it something that can be proven? Yes or no? What do you think? Put it in the chat, please. Where are you guys at? Is this something that's anecdotal or is it something that can be proven? Put it in the chat. I want to see where you guys are at. Is this something that is anecdotal? He's just talking. Or is this something that can be proven? Which one is it? Y'all know? You want to see something? Let me show y'all something. Okay, so Seema, he says, I think it could be baked with evidence. Okay. Sima, Jazakallah khair. At least he spoke. Right? Let's see. Let's see, shall we? UAE slams visa ban on all citizens of Nigeria, Ghana, and 17 other African countries. Do you know when this article came out? Last updated, September 25th. Travel ban. Let me ask y'all something. Let me ask y'all something. Before Arabs started travel banning Africans, who was travel banning Africans? Who was doing that? And was proud of it? Wasn't Donald Trump the first one? Exactly. It was the U.S. government. It was the U.S. government. And the Arabs outdid the U.S. government. The Arabs outdid the U.S. government. They just basically said, we don't want you black Negroes coming to our country. We're banning you. Are y'all seeing this? These are your Muslim brothers. United Arab Emirates has reportedly banned nationals from some 20 African countries from entering its capital city, Dubai. This is informing that we will not be posting 30-day visa applications for these nationalities effective on Tuesday, October 18th, 2022. The notice read in part. The countries affected by the visa ban include Uganda, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Sudan, Cameroon, Nigeria, Liberia, Burundi, Republic of Guinea, Gambia, Togo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Senegal, Benin, Ivory Coast, Congo, Rwanda, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, Comoros, and Dominican Republic. The only thing that all these African countries have in common is that they're all black. They're all black African countries. Not the Arab African countries. Black African countries. So now, is what he said backed by evidence? Yeah, they most certainly did. They did themselves warming Trump into their countries. They outdid themselves. They outdid themselves. Can you imagine? These are your Muslim brothers. These are the people they want us to make excuses for. May Allah destroy Arab supremacy. Ameen. Everybody in the chat say Ameen. May Allah annihilate Arab supremacy. Ameen. Everybody say Ameen. May Allah humiliate the white supremacist and the Arab supremacist. Ameen. In this life and the hereafter. Ameen. Y'all think this is jokes. Let's go back to the video.
Take it to the.
I was at the airport and I rode and I talked with Nigerian brothers and sisters that were just kind of having some issues, with their flights. But one thing I can say about, the Nigerian brothers and sisters, they very expressive. They will get their point across. And I just say, man, shout out to y'all. I had some great conversation with some of y'all at the airport. But what this brother is saying is 100% accurate, okay? You have to understand that the Arabs started the slave trade before the European. Now, the European just perfected it, and he did it in a grander scale than the Arab could have ever done it, right? He built his whole empire off of the slavery of African people and made so much money, even still benefiting from that and the colonization that came along with that. But we see that a lot of brothers and sisters that do travel to Arab nations, especially a lot of the women, they get into these homes, work as domestic workers, they take their passport from them, they're harming them. Some of them are being violated. Some of them are actually losing their lives because Black people don't have any kind of value whatsoever in these Arab countries. But what I will say to my people in the African continent that will go over there, you've heard the stories, you've heard them, you've seen the tragedy, you've seen it. The question I have for you is this: since you know this, why do you go over there? I don't understand that. It is no way I'm going to leave somewhere and to be treated worse than what I was being treated at home.
Now, this from the brother Phil Scott is a little bit on the presumptuous side. Okay. There are many articles about the foreign policy with regards to Africa. Africa is presented to the entire planet as a country as opposed to a continent, number one. So when people think of Africa, they don't think of a continent. They don't think of a continent with many different countries. They think about one country with many different Black people. Okay, that's how they think of Africa. Okay. The second thing, foreign policy with regards to Africa, from all of Europe, from the United States, is to make sure that they are impoverished. The idea that Africa is poor is actually ludicrous. It's ludicrous and it's asinine because Africa as a continent is the richest continent on earth, okay? Absolutely rich in resources, okay? Absolutely rich in resources. The problem is that none of these countries in Africa control their own sovereignty, nor do they control their own resources. You have, for example, the French African countries where they ship out their resources to France, okay, and buy back the refined resources from France at a 35% markup. Like gold, these type of things. They have to use the franc for their currency and pay back France in a currency that France itself doesn't use because France is using the euro. Okay? This poverty is not a natural poverty. It is a designed poverty. Right now, we have this war that's going on between the Ukraine and Russia, correct? Why is it that African countries are suffering the most from a war between two white countries? It's because places like Egypt, Somalia, Ethiopia, all these different countries are not allowed to grow their own wheat. So they import their wheat from Europe, European countries like Russia and like Ukraine, which causes these people in Africa to starve. Foreign policy. You get it? And from the human motivations, if you are in poverty, then you are willing to take chances to go to somebody else's country who is not in poverty and try to build a better life for your family over there. That's what's going on. So the idea that, like, why are you guys going over there? There are a lot of moving parts that are just missing. This statement itself is a little bit presumptuous. It's presumptuous. The world is designed for Black Africans to be the human chattel in modern times. Not just Black Africans, Bengalis too, and Sri Lankans as well, where you have the resources of Black Africans are the human beings themselves. You get it? That's why they leave. Africa is not poor. Africa is incredibly rich. But the Africans are poor, and the Europeans and the Arabs are the ones that are benefiting from the richness of Africa, not the Africans. That's why they leave. That's why Africans right now are risking a treacherous trek through Muslim Libya to try to reach Europe and being enslaved by Arab Libyans. That's why that happens. When you do not have food, and you do not have money, and you do not have clothes, you will be motivated to go to the place where they are offering you pipe dreams. So it is imperative for Black people to wake up. You are being used first by the Arabs, then by white folks. Now the Chinese are coming to do the same thing. The same thing in Africa. Whatchamacallit? Joe Biden recently put up $50 billion to invest in African countries. Why do you think he's doing that now? Why do you think he's doing that now? Because African countries are looking elsewhere. They are tired of Western dominance. They are tired of Western countries telling them they can't grow their own food. I've been to Africa, okay? I've been to Kenya. I've been to Morocco. You are talking about some of the most fertile lands on earth that anything can grow. And yet people are starving in Kenya. Starving. Are you hearing me? Kenya has resources like they have avocado, they have botany plants, they have lots and lots and lots of meat, so much meat, like with cows and stuff. Morocco has oranges, they have goats, and yet still people are starving in these countries. Why? Because with U.S. foreign policy and as well as foreign policy of the colonizing states, they make it a part of their policy that the people, the locals, are not allowed to grow nor buy their own food. It's the same thing in Trinidad, where I'm from. Trinidad, you're talking about an island that is fertile and food just goes wild everywhere. And not to mention the Caribbean Sea, which has an incredible amount of fish in it. And yet still, people are struggling to buy food in Trinidad. Why? Because their food is imported from other countries, even though they can grow it for themselves. And why are they importing their food? Foreign policy. Okay? Black people, we need to wake up. We have to understand the game. If you do not understand the game, you're not going to understand the rules. We need to start understanding how the enemy thinks. Just because you think a certain way doesn't mean the enemy thinks like you. Let's keep watching.
Kind of money. I'm sorry, that's not worth it for me whatsoever. I gotta figure something out right then and there in my own homeland. Y'all have the best. Y'all have the awesome sunlight, best air out there. You know, y'all have so many resources right there in the African continent. It's no reason to leave. You have poor Chinese coming from China, making massive wealth right there in the African continent, in your own homeland, is what they're doing. And I see actually how they can do it, because if you're a person just even with a little money, establish a business in the African continent, the greatest asset you have is with your money is what they call human capital, or hiring people for jobs. In America, you probably could have hired 2 people, but over there, you probably could have hired 10 to 12 based on the economy and the way things go. And the more people you have, the more money you could. This is how these people are going and making so much money. I'm a firm believer of the diaspora. If you want to help the African continent and keep them there, those who say, what can we do to give back? Create a business, hire the local. That is the best thing you could do from what I've seen. Because there's a lot of brothers and sisters that really want to work, and they are hard-working brothers and sisters that's over there. They just want a good job, okay? And there's some good people there, and give them a job, pay them good, and they're going to do a good job for you. But there's no reason for you to be leaving the African continent. Hell, look at how some of y'all was treated in Morocco. You remember them videos from Morocco? How they were beating and even deleting black people for trying to go through Morocco? And that's not even leaving the African continent. What about North?
We put that out too. And those videos were incredibly graphic. I couldn't even put them on YouTube. They were incredibly graphic. They were just massacring Africans for wanting to leave Morocco at the border, massacring them. These are your Muslim brothers. May Allah humiliate each and every single Arab supremacist. Ameen. May Allah destroy Arab supremacy. Ameen. Along with white supremacy. Ameen. May Allah rid the earth of every single white and Arab supremacist. Ameen. These people are wicked. They're wicked. They're not human. They're just human looking. Incredibly evil people. And they have the nerve to tell you that our fight is with the Muslim leaders. To hell with you and your fight against the Muslim leaders. You people make me sick. Our fight is not their fight. Stop fighting their fights. Fight your fight. These are your brothers? These are your brothers? You make me sick.
North Africa. Recently, a comment came out of the World Cup where Morocco was saying, one player was saying, oh, this is a victory for Morocco in the Arab world. Now that they're African. And I said to even the sister One Gail, maybe about a year or two ago, she made a video about somebody in Morocco. Oh, one of them African. I said, they are not Africans. I said, they're Arabs, but they're not Africans. They just live in the African continent, but they're not African. I said, me and you, we're Africans. I said, them, no. And then when they get some shine, what happened? The first thing they say, it's a victory for the Arab world. Lets you know right there. If you know the history, they invaded North Africa. That's not where they originally was at. Some black people a lot of black people go through hell in some of these countries. You can watch the videos on YouTube. So some of the racism, like one video I watched, I think it was on Al Jazeera that time about Tunisia. And I'm like, wow, I was shocked. Like they were making them do some Jim Crow style stuff to black people. You talking about the Arabs. I'm not saying all of that way. I would never say all of that way, but you have that.
This is another thing that we got to stop too, man. We got to stop. Listen, I like Phil Scott. I think he has some amazing content, but of course, he's just a guy. Sometimes he's like, he misses a lot of the plot, right? Yeah, he missed a lot of stuff. Yeah, sometimes he does, because he's just a guy, right? But the other thing that we need to stop doing as black people is that right there. Not all Arabs, not all white folks. Listen, the ones that are on your side, you know them already, okay? You know what I mean? You don't have to say that to make them feel good, because they're already on your side. When Musa alayhi salam was trying to free his people from Egypt, was he talking about, well, not all the Egyptians are like Pharaoh? You are at war. Speak like you are at war. Can you imagine? The Prophet Muhammad sallam is fighting the Jews in Khazraj. Well, not all the Jews are like you guys. That's only something that comes out the mouth of black people. I don't know why. I don't know why we do that. White people, they do, like, when they want to prove that they're not racist, what do? They talk about, my best friend is black. All right? Some of my best friends are black. Right? And when people want to prove that they're not racist, that's what they say. Some of my best friends are black. You want to prove your allegiance, your love for people. Black people, you don't have to prove your love for anybody. It's well known that black people do not have a hate for any other people group. We don't have that. There is zero history anywhere on earth where black people have just mass exploited another people simply because of their race or their color or anything. Zero. We don't have that history anywhere. The reason why we say that, because, we have some humanity with us, and we don't want other people to feel bad. But you need to stop catering to the feelings of your enemies and start showing mercy to your own people. Anyone who is on our side, you will know. And they will know. Meanwhile, scour the internet. Where are the Arabs talking about this stuff? Where are they? Scour the internet. Not all Arabs are like that. I don't like it when people, I don't know, that kind of gets under my skin. Right? When they talk about Zionists and stuff, Zionists in Palestine, do you ever hear a Muslim, well, not all Zionists, That's something only black people do. Let's keep watching.
All that in the African continent. The black folks on that continent need to check that. They need to check that real quick. But there's no reason to be leaving your homeland, going anywhere else. Same thing about going to the European country or even America. There's no reason to be leaving your homeland. None. Fight for it. As I said in Kenya, fight for your homeland. Build your homeland up. Because if you leave it, somebody else gonna come take it. If you know them people treating you like that, go work for them people. Let people work for each other. They look.
The fight in Africa has been going on for a very, very, very long time. I suggest some of y'all, like if you don't know, look up Patrice Lumumba and what happened to him, what the American government did to him. Look up the Mau Mau in Kenya. Look up Haile Selassie. Look up all these people they fought. The Africans they fought. But the issue is with black people all over the earth is that every other people group sees themselves as a people group. Black people are the last people on earth to recognize what's going on. They are the very last people on earth to recognize what's actually happening. They don't recognize themselves as what everybody else recognizes themselves as. So you have Somalians, okay, leaving Somalia. Big lips, nappy hair, okay, black skin, come all the way to the West, talking about they ain't black, they're Somalian. Word. And meanwhile, we put out the top 50 most wanted in Canada. More than a half were Muslim, and the vast majority of those Muslims were Somalians. But you're not black, you're Somalian. You get it? You see what's going on here? Everybody else gets the game. It's a big, massive game. We didn't make the rules. We didn't decide which team we're going to be on. We didn't ask for this game. But we're in it. And everybody is playing accordingly, except black people still haven't figured it out. So you have the Somalians fighting for Somalians. And you have the Kenyans fighting for the Kenyans, and Jamaicans fighting the Jamaicans, and the Haitians fighting for the Haitians. But when these Western countries, particularly Canada, United States, Brazil, when they started inviting other Europeans to the West, were they inviting them based upon their European country, or were they inviting them based upon their whiteness? Put it in the chat, please. Put it in chat. Were they inviting them based upon whatever European country that they were from? Or were they inviting them based and solely based on their whiteness? Put it in the chat. Somebody put in the chat, please. Why were they being invited? The war just ended. You had 4 million blacks all with guns. White population wasn't like that back in those days. Why did they invite all of these Europeans, particularly under the Homestead Act in the States, if you're from the States? Thank you, Psych for Press. Strictly and solely because of their whiteness. Italians weren't considered white until they were. Polish weren't considered white until they were. Even if you look at Europeans, Europeans still kind of see themselves as Europeans, you know, based upon their countries and whatnot. They still have that with them because Europeans were killing each other for centuries in Europe. Okay. You understand? They still have that with them. But when they come to the West, then they become white. Who else became white under the Homestead Act? You had Syrians became white. Very happy to come and benefit from white supremacy. You had Lebanese. You had Irish. Very happy to benefit from white supremacy. Remember, these people back in the day, particularly the Irish, you know, they were seen as, you know, like the bottom feeders of Europe. Italians, Portuguese. Well, not so much Portuguese. Not so much Portuguese. Like they were. But anyways, the point is, if you look at Brazil, okay, you know what Brazil did? Anyone of you could look this up if it's cap. Brazil. Do you guys watch MMA? You guys know this man named Lyoto Machida by any chance? Those of you who watch MMA, you guys heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? You guys heard about that stuff? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Lyoto Machida? Yes or no? Who has heard about this stuff? You guys heard about this stuff? Excellent. Lyoto Machida is a very, very famous former UFC champion. Okay, he was a karate stylist. That's why he was very unique, because in MMA, very few people in MMA use karate. Very few. But he not only did he use karate, but he became a champion using that karate style. Okay. And you guys heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, these type of things. How did karate and Jiu-Jitsu end up in Brazil? Like, how did that happen? You know what? You know why the Brazilian government was bringing Japanese to Brazil? You know why? It's because they wanted to lighten the population. And that's why you have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Lyoto Machida, okay? Because he comes from that generation. They wanted to make the people lighter. So they brought Japanese over. They couldn't get enough Europeans. The black population in Brazil is very high, even up until this day. But they're playing this demographic magic. So now the whole world thinks that, you know, America and you know, these type of questions in countries like Canada and whatnot, they think of them as white countries without realizing the devilishness that was done behind making these countries white countries. Absolute devilishness. And meanwhile, in the Arab world, you have this stuff. You have this stuff. Watch this now. I'm going to go back. You have UAE slams visa ban on all citizens of Nigeria, Ghana, and 17 other African countries. Black African countries. Where do you think they learned this stuff from? This is Arab supremacy. And on top of that, the message that you are sending to Black people and Africans when you remain silent about this stuff is loud and clear. What is happening and what will continue to happen is that you're going to have two extremes. You're going to have the one extreme of Black people who are going to associate these Arabs with Islam, and they're going to say, the Muslims are doing this. Therefore, Africans don't become Muslim. We talked about this yesterday. Then you're going to have the other extreme where you're going to have the bones and the biscuits, the twerkers and the twirlers, the twitchers and the shakers, making all kinds of excuses for Arab devils because they are Muslim. Which is just going to prove the point of the other side. Those people on the other side who literally have nothing of historical evidence on their side except for the fact that Arabs are doing this today. That's all they have on their side. Arabs are doing this today. Therefore, we must be telling the truth. And then you have the Muslims who are doing this thing. No, I can't see that. No. My Muslim brother. No, it's not true. It's not true. No, Muslims don't do that. Muslims don't do that. Sometimes I wish I could swear on this channel. This would be a swearing moment right now. Right? But we can't do that. We can't do that. If my wife hears me, she'll tell me across the head. But anyways, you know, that's what they do. And they expect you to side with them. Don't side with them. Side with the truth. Allah himself is the truth, and he loves the truth. What do you think? Allah's going to love you defending an Arab oppressor because he's Muslim? Or he's going to love you defending the oppressed even if they're not Muslim? Which one would Allah love more? Mind you, these Arabs are Muslim by default. They didn't choose to come to Islam. They were born into Islam. We chose. We chose. Can you imagine, man? Some of these Negroes, man, like insane. I know coons and shines, they are people. They are people, they're human beings, right? But you got to call a coon when the coon brings us buggy eyes out talking about, oh, well, no, it's not really like that. And no, they didn't really, murder all of those. I mean, murder is such a strong word. I mean, those people, they're so happy. They're so happy. What in the fuzznuck? Okay, are you talking about? What are you talking about? Go online right. If you go online right now, you'll find literally thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of articles of African slavery in Arab countries, and not a single one of your YouTubian elite has covered it. Not one. We are the only ones covering it here on this channel. And we are calling it what it is, Arab supremacy. They don't do that to the Chinese when they get there. They don't do that to white folks when they come from even the lowliest of white countries. They don't do that to them. They ain't never done that to no Hungarians or whatever, Polish when they come to their countries. But you better believe they be doing that to some Africans. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Abu Barak.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What you got for us, bro?
I heard this brother once. I once mentioned this on Facebook. These type of events that happen to African people, Black Africans in Arab countries, and who are the ones to disagree with me and to be mad with me? Who you think are the ones to be mad with me?
It gotta be Black folk.
It's Black folks who are Muslim,
Yeah,
all right?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be.
You know, one of them told me. I think he watched your channel. He told me, well, he been to Kuwait and he's seen Black people. They appear to be happy. So that's the proof that racism doesn't go on in the Arab world towards Black people. I was like, oh man, this guy's an idiot. So, I show videos. I show pictures and videos. You've seen them too, of the proof of slavery and how they treat Black people in Africa. I mean, in Arab countries, and what's going on today. I show a video from Morocco of Moroccans interviewing Black descendants of slaves in Morocco, and they're talking about the Unsuriya, their racism they still face in Morocco, right? Brothers still don't believe this, and I'm like, if the brothers watching, I show them the video. Are you not going to consider these are Black people who live in the Arab countries who are complaining? They still don't believe, because see, the mentality of our people is that Arabs equal being like the prophet. Yeah, and the prophet is infallible, so Arabs are infallible. So to criticize Arabs and what they do that's wrong is like criticizing the prophet himself.
Yeah, that is a fact. That is a fact. This is a disease with Black people, and it's passed on from slavery, where the white folks, their ice is colder, their grass is greener. It's the same friggin' grass, same friggin' ice, but because white people did it, right, it's better. You get it? So we don't buy from our own, because when white people do it, it's the quality superior. Even though white people are not making this stuff, they are getting it shipped from China, right? But we are buying from a white person rather than a Black person, right? So now we carry this mentality because it's from slavery, right? It's from slavery. You know, because Black people have been locked out of economics intentionally from the people who put your slave masters on your dollar bills, we have now associated perfection with our oppressors, not knowing it's its entire game. If you had access to the money printing machine, your products will be superior to theirs. They are doing this to you intentionally so that you cannot compete with them. You get it? So now, when Black people become Muslim, right, we carry that association that we had with white folks now to the Arabs. You get it? And because we have this ideological approach to the religion, like everything is it has to be like ideologically perfect. You get it? We think our ideology is the reality, and it's not. The reality is one thing, and our ideology is another. You get it? So ideally in Islam, there's no racism in Islam, right? And there is no racism in Islam. But just because there's no racism in Islam does not negate the fact that Muslims are racist.
That's right.
And you have to be brave enough to say it. Because if you do not, then you're going to make a bigger mess. And what is happening now is that black people all over the world are associating Arabs with what? With what? Thank you. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I was listening to Phil's show today, the one you were showing. He said about the Moroccans are saying that they're out of. Well, I stayed in Morocco for about 5 months. I got to travel all over Morocco, and specifically where the Berbers are, the Berber, right? The Berber. Now, Moroccans, whether they're Arab or Berber, most Moroccans would say they're African, right? They would say they have no problem saying they're African. Most Moroccans you talk to would say they're African, whether they're Arabs or Berber. So I don't think Phil really has a good understanding. I know he likes Muslims, Phil. I know he's been to Turkey. He put a post once, what if all black Americans accept Islam? How would we really be in America? Meaning that we would fight white folks. That's what he's trying to say, right? He's trying to say that. But I think that African Americans, we need to build more of a institution or a bond with each other. See, I have no problem with Arabs and their racism. I have no problem with it. I learned the hard way. I dealt with Arabs. I've been married to one, and the anti-blackness from them. So I know how Arabs are. But us black people, we need to start taking a little bit that we see from other people's culture. Arabs, they stick up for each other.
Yeah.
Whether they're right or wrong, they are with each other. Asians are always with each other. Europeans, most cases, they are with each other. When it comes to black folks, when it comes to them against black folks,
we do the opposite.
They do the opposite.
With everybody else.
We will
protect other people groups from black people.
That's right.
Before we protect ourselves. Now this is in our nature, right? And this is why you have Muslims, when they become Muslim, they instantly they get defensive when you start saying Arabs are racist, because they themselves are associating Arabs with Islam. You get it? They themselves are doing it, right? So we have to fix that mentality and separate. You have to make sure that people know that, okay, yes, the Quran is Arabic. The Prophet ﷺ, he is Arab, right? The Sahaba, they were Arab. Yes, this is all true. But that is from circumstance. That is from the wisdom of Allah. It doesn't mean that Arabs are superior to anybody. And the Prophet ﷺ, he expressed that in his last sermon. Brother Seema, Assalamu Alaikum. What you got for us, bro?
Well, Alaikum Salam. I think the point that y'all making, you just made, is absolutely correct. As far as how we look at it with Arabs. But I think a lot of that it was done by design also. Like, I think that with this Arab supremacy you're talking about, I think a lot of these people, they sort of did what the Jews did. You know how the Jews come up with this, with the chosen people, and I think they did that. I mean, you could go back. So some Muslims, I think, were indoctrinated because there was like certain scholars, Arab scholars, we can't, like, way before our time, that said certain things like, black women don't have to wear the hijab because it's not beautiful, blah blah blah, certain things like this. And I think Ibn
Khaldun said that.
Yeah,
Ibn Khaldun said that.
So
right?
This is like not a new phenomenon.
Even some big scholars talked about the superiority of Arabs, including Ibn Taymiyyah, including Sheikh Al-Albani, right? Both of them who are not Arabs, by the way. They're not Arabs, by the way, right? And we have to be the ones to say, look, man, you're wrong. We can't be shy in saying that. You're just wrong.
Nobody wants to go against them. Nobody wants to say it.
Look how some Arab sheikhs, they have big writings just on Ibn Taymiyyah being Arab. They have so many, because there's two opinions. Some say he wasn't Arab, and then the Arab scholars, they've written books, articles to prove he's Arab. Anybody who's big in Islam, the Arabs want to claim him for themselves, right? In some cases.
Course, yeah.
But But the thing about the outer people that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he dealt with this, the hadith of Abu Dar, right? When Abu Dar told one of the companions, Bilal, that your mother is a black slave, and then that companion went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and complained about it, and Prophet said to Abu Dar, this is something from Jahiliyyah, right? And then Abu Dar went to this companion, went to the same companion, and told him to put his foot on his head until he removed that Jahiliyyah from himself.
Yeah.
Are Arabs today doing this to remove their issues with black folks and black skins? They're not going this far. They're not. You know, Arab people.
No,
you mentioned to an Arab person,
tripling down, quintupling down. You know, they're like all in Arab supremacy, right?
You know, I've been imam in the Arab community before, half Arab, Yemeni. And when the black folks mention to them about their racism or their anti-blackness, the first thing the Arabs get on defense, oh, we don't want to hear this. Anything that we do, you guys don't like. You say we're racist and we're racist. I'm like, are you racist? Why you don't want to listen to their opinion? You got me? Why is the issue if the black people are complaining in your community? Why you don't want to listen to them? Oh, because they're not the one bringing all the money into the community. So you think what they have to say is not important? And listen, in the end of the day, I notice with not all Arabs, now I can't say all of them, but when they get together, they think about self. When we get together, we're a group of us are fighting to preserve them. The people who's not even considering about us, we're fighting to save those people. You know, we want to defend them, but we won't work to defend our own people. This is something that we got to really work, especially in our community, the Sunni, the Muslim community. This is a big thing in the Muslim community.
The thing that I find incredible is that, you know, they don't even care about our issues. They hardly even speak about anything as it's related to us. But as soon as a group of black Muslims get together to try to do something, they got so much to say. All of a sudden, they're paying attention. I find that incredible.
Yeah, well, that's why we got this channel now. Alhamdulillah, you know, alhamdulillah for the black Muslim grassroots, right? And at the end of the day, we are the ones who have to take the initiative to go beyond the articulates and the rhetoric, right? We have to make some serious moves. There's an article in the Guardian, right, and in Forbes magazine, and a lot of magazines actually, right? And it basically says that the median wealth of Black Americans will fall to zero by 2053. Okay, this article came out. When did it come out? Let me try to find it here. It came out a couple of years ago, actually. Okay, yeah, it came out in 2017. Okay, we Muslims, particularly in the Black community, if you look in Black social media, the main thing that Black social media does is that they fight each other. You don't find this in any other people group. You don't find it. You will only find this in Black social media, where they are just roasting each other and fighting each other and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So, and we are fighting each other, and meanwhile, we are being robbed at our wealth while we're concentrating on, you know, are you Ashari or Salafi and stuff? You know, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? It don't make any sense. Just make it make sense.
I mean, the way I see like the Arab community, they're not like, you know, anything. They're not a unique case. You know, many they just took on the mind states as it pertains to us, you know, from their colonial masters. This is what the Europeans have pretty much pushed to like all people.
Look at the Arab countries in the Khalij. Okay, you have Saudi Arabia. Okay, you have Kuwait. All right, you have Yemen. Well, Yemen's not a good example right now. It's all bombed out and depleted, right? But you have these Gulf countries, right? All these countries, they have Sunni and Shia and Sufi, Salafi, right? In Saudi Arabia, they have Rafida Shia in the government. Okay, in high government positions. Okay. They have their own regions and everything. They work together with the Salafi government. But here in the West, the people who need to work together the most will not work with you because of dogmatic differences.
Right.
Even
that's telling right there.
Yeah, exactly. Even the Prophet ﷺ himself, he himself had a treaty with the mushrikun of Medina and the Jews of Medina, both at the same time. A protection pact. And we over here, you're telling me that I cannot work with a black Christian or a Nation of Islam or a Sufi, a black. I can't do that here in 2023.
And that's the first thing he did when he went to Medina. From the first groups of things he did when he went to Medina, he made a treaty with the Yahudi. What was the treaty he said? Whoever fights them, whoever fight the Muslims, the Jew will help them. Whoever is the enemy of the Jew, the Muslim will help them fight. This is one of the treaties that he made with the Jews.
So which make more sense to y'all, right? That we continue to launch this war that has been going on for centuries with Arabs and Indo-Pacs, and it got nothing to do with us at all. Or no, our situation or our condition. Let's say, for example, all the black people in America became Salafi today, right? Does that change their condition?
No, not at all.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Will they all become Salafi? Not friggin' likely, right? Not very likely, right? We just have to make dawah. We were ordered to make dawah, right? But if the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, was reprimanded by Allah himself for not feeding his father, who was a mushrik, you mean to tell me that I can't feed my family, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins who are Christian? I can't invite them to my house. I can't go to their house. You see what they do? This divide and conquer tactic?
I mean, I remember vividly, like one story when the Muslims were still at war with the Muslim king, and the Prophet's wife, father Abu Sufyan, he came there when he was still a mushrik, and she was being disrespectful. The Prophet told her not to disrespect her father.
Right. Yeah,
but they want us to believe that you can't work with the mushrikeen under no circumstances, even if they're calling for something good. You know, even the Prophet said like there was certain like agreements, pacts that the mushrikeen in Mecca had made pre-Islam in times of Jahiliyyah. I remember a report of him mentioning if today he would uphold that same pact. You know, when before his prophethood, when someone a traveler had been robbed, and all the mushrikeen, the chiefs came together. He praised that action. But let them tell you we can't follow them. We can't, unite with our own people if they're non-Muslim, even when they're calling.
The people who complain about uniting with our own people is mostly our own people. I really, really, really have so much respect for the Indo-Pac community, like so much, because I'm in some of their groups, right? I'm in some of their WhatsApp groups. I've worked with them in Saudi Arabia, and of course here in Canada. And the one thing that is common, no matter what, okay, you can say what you want about them, being corny or whatever. The one thing that they do is that they always help each other. Always. And you can have, for example, in the same family, in the Indo-Pac, they're in the same family, okay? One of them might be Diomendi. One of them might be Salafi. One of them might be agnostic a little bit. You know, like it's just like a cultural Muslim. But the one thing they have in common, they all help each other, like always, and you don't find them arguing. That's something that we do. Like all the arguments that I've ever had was because I'm starting it. So, you know what I'm saying?
And especially when it comes to making money, they don't have no issue. When it comes to them making money together as a family and stuff.
Yeah. When I was in Saudi, even not just the teachers who are helping, but even the taxi drivers, right? The taxi drivers will be helping the teachers. The teachers will be helping, like whatchamacallit, the domestic workers. Like they all help each other, man. Right? Over here is the same thing. They help each other, man. Right? We don't do that. And so because we don't do that, we're looking at them like they hate us, but it's not necessarily that, right? It's not necessarily that. What it is that we hate us, and because we haven't achieved what they have achieved, we're looking at it like it's their fault that we haven't achieved. But really, the responsibility is directly on us. So we have to change the culture in that.
Or not if we not even necessarily if we hate each other. I think that too many of us have an inferior mindset. I think that's what a lot of it is. You know, we see it the same thing with the Europeans. We're always waiting for somebody else to come and give us praise or to teach us about our history. Learn it yourself. Even the same thing the black do when they go into Islam. We talk about Ibn Taymiyyah and, you know, all the scholars that the Arabs have taught us about. But there were many great black scholars. Usman Dan Folio, Muhammad Baga Hugo, Muhammad Bello, you know, so on. But we don't learn about these people because we're waiting for the Arabs. We're not going to do it unless, as Muslims, unless the Arabs say it's okay.
No, sir. Exactly, you know. And, you know, of course, in Islam, it's very, very important for us to learn Arabic language. Right, we have to take that very, very seriously. Learn Arabic language, right? And language in itself is a major part of the culture of the people. So if you're learning Arabic, of course you're going to adopt some of the Arab customs Arab culture because you're learning the language, right? However, we cannot allow the overt Arab supremacy to go unchecked, while our own people are the ones who are suffering from it.
Bro, I used to challenge it all the time. They like hated me. They used to say stuff like they're the chosen people, you know, pretty much. They used to say stuff like, even from the beginning, when I became a Muslim, like something didn't sound right, you know, I questioned it. They say things like the Arab language is the superior language and it's the best language, and Adam spoke Arabic. Like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know that? Like, where do you get this from? All the languages belong to Allah. Like, because they talk so much about Quran and Sunnah. Like, what's the proof? Don't tell me because the Quran is in Arabic.
Because Arabs say that. Arabs say that. Arabs say that. The Arabs say Adam spoke Arabic and the language of paradise is in Arabic, but there's no hadith, no dalil for none of these things.
No dalil. And these are the people that are always talking about dalil. So I used to question all that. Or Sheikh so-and-so said that. Like, he can be disagreed with. I think that the problem with us, like, we look at, and Muslims in general, not just the black Muslims, we see like all the scholars like almost like idols. You know, your scholars, he's deviant, your scholar. Like, these people they're not infallible, bro. You know, the famous quote from Imam Malik, every man can be disagreed with except the one. And he pointed to the prophet grave. Like, but I think we like overlook that. We look at Islam now, like the scholars, it's no different than the West. Like, too many people are trying to make these people into like in the West, they do their, you know, celebrity. It's like a rock culture.
These guys, right? You find them now. The new dawah is, you know, basically twitch and twirl for Zaddy. That's the new dawah now. You get me? The more twitching and twirling you do for Zaddy, you know, the more play it's going to get. You understand? So they start doing stuff like this, man.
And I don't mean you personally, but you know, we can say things like, well, the West is not bearing sufficient responsibility for its colonial past. And so at some level, that kind of devolves down to the individual. It's
so
like,
let me kind of rephrase it then. I think, you know, I think that's more of a left-wing criticism. It's like, you know, there's reparations and affirmative action programs. I'm not advocating any of that, and nor do I even believe in any of that.
He was bolder than JP. JP seemed like he was kind of shy, hesitant to say it. Muhammad Hijab was like bolder than him.
But listen, I want to say something about Muhammad Hijab's statement. I want to say something because right now they're giving Kevin Hart some issue because he said Egyptians are black people, right? The origin are black people. They're giving they're trying to cancel him. Now, Muhammad Hijab's statement right here about he's not for anything of the left, and he mentioned reparation, right? I'm gonna make it clear: Egyptians are colonialized. I don't care. I don't care if they're Arab. They love their colonial slave master. Now, the modern day Egyptian, the modern day Egypt today. I lived in Egypt, lived 2 years, got Egyptian children and all that. Modern day Egyptian have different ethnic groups. They have Arabs who Arabized Egypt. The people from before there, Romans, Greeks, and then the colonialists who took over Egypt while the Muslim was there. That's the French, the British, and then you had the Turkey. All of this is mixed in Egyptian people. You go to Egypt, there's people with blonde hair in Egypt and blue eyes. That's not no Arab blood. Blonde hair and blue eyes, it's not Arab. These are the people. When you conquer a place, something called the spoils of war. Women are spoils of war. When you conquer a place, you take their women. You take their women. So in Egypt, you have all these different mentalities, all these different skin colors. They love white people. And when Muhammad Hijab said that, he let you see who his father is. He lets you know he got a colonial grandfather somewhere down in his blood, is in his blood somewhere. He got one of these British, maybe one of these French in his family, in his blood. That's why he's talking to Jordan like this. I don't care about what the left say. I'm not for reparation, none of this stuff. You're kissing your colonialist grandfather's ass. You're kissing his ass. You let you know, daddy. I know you haven't been taking care of me, but yeah, I'm with you still. This is a white man. A lot of Egyptians have this mentality. A lot of Egyptians in Egypt have this mentality to this day.
I think a lot of people have that mentality. It's just like, most people are suckers, man. So whatever side's winning, they want to be like, that's my side, thinking they're going to get something from them. I heard Hijab say before that he was like 30% like West African. I think like Ghanaian. But, also, you're right. The Egyptians are mixed with a lot. Also, the Syrians, the Persians, they all conquered it.
The richest man in history is recorded history anyway. We say recorded history. This man, his name is Mansa Musa, right? He was a king from West Africa, right? And he went on a Hajj trip, and this Hajj trip made international news at that time. Okay, it was like his Hajj trip was approximately, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 decades before Europeans started going into Europe. They actually went into Europe because they heard about Mansa Musa's gold. Okay, right. But one of the things that he did is that he was going across Africa, right, and he was just handing out gold in handfuls, right, because he had a whole entourage, a massive entourage of camels on his Hajj trip. And he's carrying all this gold, and he's just giving out gold. And he came back with all these scholars from all over Africa and Arabia at that time, and he brought them back to West Africa, and he established what is known as Timbuktu. Okay. So while he's doing all of this, not a single person that I know of in any history book anywhere, right, was giving any type of, disdain to Black people because he's a very obvious black king, even his name, right? Mansa Musa, right? Clearly a West African name, right? All that started after white people started saying that they were superior to everybody else, and Arabs started accepting it because they say, yeah, you Arabs are, you're Caucasian like us, right? And Arabs, they were heavily involved in the slave trade, capturing Africans and selling them to Europeans, right? Which caused a lot of a massive demographic shift, in Africa. Not to mention that Black Africans, mind you, were ruling in Europe for 800 years, and their stories are, very famous. And even Shakespeare himself wrote a play about one of these Africans called Othello. Right? You might have heard about that play, right?
The Moor.
The Moor, yes. That's what they were called, right? The dark ages of Europe were the bright ages of Islam. It was the Muslims that were giving these Europeans all this technology and stuff like that, right? But anyways, I say that to basically throw a wrench in the machine that says that, it was the Muslims that were enslaving, Africans and these type of things, right? Because we know that there was this type of black slavery that happened with Muslims. This actually happened, yes, but not the way that it's being portrayed. You get it? There's a lot of embellishment going on with that. But when you come and you reach this point in 2023, and then you see it with your own eyes, and none of your Muslim brothers are speaking out against it, right? Then what are you going to do? You're going to remain silent?
Bro, it's like funny that you mentioned that. Like, you bring up like the Moors. I didn't see like online, like Berbers, people that identify as Berbers, they get real upset. Like the Moors, none of them was black. It was us. And then people will point out, like, we look at you, you got black ancestry. More than likely, they'll say things like, or you will say they're Berber tribes that are all black to this day. They'll say, but they were our slaves. Then I even seen Somalis say that. Somalis have been like, we sold you guys. And the black Somalis in our land, they're not really Somali. Somali is like one of our ancestors. These are the Bantu people. They brag about that. Say we're not black, and everybody's a Bantu, and we're like the Cushites. I don't know how to. I think they only got that name because Europeans told them that your language is Cushitic. Because for my knowledge, the land of Kush is like the people of Dinka and Noor, the people in the Sudanese people. But a lot of things that Europeans tell us, man, we just take it as like gospel is the point.
Yeah. I mean, there was absolutely a whitewashing of history, especially when they started going into Africa. They started seeing, like for example in Timbuktu, they witnessed that university and they were like stunned. This is why the whole Inquisition took place in Spain to begin with, right? Because the Europeans started meeting, started bringing these black West Africans to Europe, right? Because there was the West Africans that were gifting them as slaves to the Portuguese and stuff, and they were like, okay, this is like a great idea, right? And then the Spanish got a hold of them, and then they were like, okay, we have to make this racial superiority thing, because we got these Moors here, we got these Jews here, and now these Africans are here, right? So we are going to basically say, in order to stay in this country or this land or whatever, it's not a country back in those days, like these regions, right? Country started after World War I, right? But anyways, you have to be of pure blood. And what's a pure blood? It means that both your grandparents on both sides have to be pure white and pure Christian, and thus that's when the Spanish Inquisition started. So how do they know if their parents are pure, if they're a Christian or not? By the tone of their skin. So don't tell me about no Berber stuff. Okay, they knew if you were Muslim by the tone of your skin. So the Muslims had to leave. The Jews, they didn't have to leave because they were white anyways. Many of them just converted. The Muslims ended up going back to Morocco and Mauritania and these type of places.
Right. And another thing, like you would find that even when Morocco sacked the Songhai Empire, like they had Spanish like infidels like Kufar working with them. They were a part of the army that helped them, like mercenaries. So this is something that's been going on for quite a while. But I wanted to ask you, did you see the article and what's going on in the UK? Like now they're trying to, all the migrants, you know, coming from North Africa, coming to Muslim countries. Now they want to deport these people to Rwanda. The Rwanda government made a deal, so the UK like pays them, and they're gonna accept all the immigrants into their country. To keep, I guess they're trying to keep. It goes back to what you said earlier. They're trying to keep Europe white. You know, Europe's having a population problem, a birth rate problem. Like a lot of governments in Europe are actually paying their citizens to have children.
That's why all these countries are losing their minds right now, because they are the ones who pushed this eugenics ideology all over the world, right? To basically cull the black population, but their own people accepted it. You get it? So what do they call it? What's $1 million family? You guys know what $1 million family is? You guys know what it is? $1 million family? You guys ever heard that term?
I haven't.
Never heard of it? $1 million family is as a husband and wife, a son and a daughter. Okay, they coined that term, right? Go into Africa and see if any of these $1 million families exist. You're talking about 8 kids, 9 kids, you know what I mean? But white people accepted that. They're the ones who are telling you if you have 3 kids, you have a big family.
Not only that, Aki, the thing that bothers me a lot is that our people, well, at least here in the U.S., FBA people, like they're starting to buy into that. Yeah. This form of population control. You're working against your own interests. I want to tell you. This is the thing.
That's the whole thing about behind LBGQTI stuff. That's the whole agenda for black folks, the LBGQTI. It's
or don't have children, or don't have children until you get like millions of dollars, which most people probably would never get. You'll be waiting for something that would never come.
These these countries right here, like the Western countries, right? They're facing this demographic crisis because white people's populations are declining, right? And that's why you're seeing all over the world this alt-right push, because they're trying to purify the races. You got to remember, white supremacy started because white people started traveling the world and they realized that they are actually a very small portion of the world's population. So they had to convince the entire planet that white was superior. You get it? And if you look in their literature, that's what they say. They say the superior race is white. Very easy to convince the Hindus of that, right? The Indians, they already believe that anyways, right? It's ingrained in them for the better part of 5,000 years. Okay, they try to lighten their skin and stuff like that. Go into Africa, same type of thing, right? Having black people worship white Jesus and stuff.
Yep.
You get me? And now you have in the UK the very first not only non-white prime minister, but Hindu prime minister in the UK. Now you think the alt-right just got weaker or stronger because of that?
It should have got weaker.
It should have got weaker. Stronger. It got of course. Of course it got stronger. Of course they did. You think
I'm sure a lot of people don't like that.
Yeah, you think the native British want to see a Hindu as their leader, right?
Same thing happened with Obama. Same thing happened in America to Obama.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened in the States. They got 8 years of a black-looking president, mind you. He did zero for black people, but he was just black-looking was enough for these white supremacists to lose their minds. Right? You can imagine 8 years of a black-looking president who did diddly squat for black people and did more for the LGBTs than any other human being on earth in any part of history.
So when we're talking about like the birth rates of Europe and how some of those European countries are so desperate that they want to pay their citizens to actually have children. The Chinese are going through something similar. Their population is getting old. And I hear they like talking about Africa. Africa has the youngest population and is growing. And I can tell when they talk about that, they get jealous. Then I look at our people here and they tell you don't have children till you have like millions of dollars. Basically, like, and we listen to them. It reminds me of the clip that you play of Jamil Al-Amin. May Allah free him. You know, when he's talking about we chumps.
I mean,
you see what it is? Like, we listen to that. Like, this is the thing that the people of the book say that Pharaoh was jealous of. They say that Pharaoh was jealous and was afraid because the children of Israel, their population was growing. And we want to kill off our population. And Allah tell us, don't kill your kids for fear of poverty. The Europeans telling you, don't have kids, kill them because you're going to be poor.
What people don't realize is that actually Allah, He spoke the truth. And of course, Allah spoke the truth. And the wealth in any family is actually in the children. And that's why nuclear families are incredibly important. Strong nuclear families, right? If you have a nation of single mothers, you're going to produce a generation of degenerates. But if you have both the father and the mother in the house working together, right? Then what you have is that every child is an investment, you know?
Exactly. Didn't Pharaoh, isn't that what Allah say Pharaoh did? Like he killed the male sons and left their females like alive so they could control them. I read a quote from Hitler, and I'm glad you brought that point up because I think many of us don't understand that. Like your children are an investment. Hitler said whoever controlled the youth, Hitler said whoever controlled the youth controlled the world or the future. I don't know why we don't think like that. Like he, the next generation, like he understood that.
Here, I want to read something real quick, right? Now it really is gonna reflect on the Muslims and what Black Americans we could take from the Muslims, right? So I was reading in social psychology about individualism and collectivism. Now, individualism is a Western concept where you just focus on self and you don't focus on a group effort, right? And most people outside of the Western world, meaning most white people practice individualism, right? Most white people and non-white people like Africans, Muslims, Asians, whatever, they practice collectivism, which means the practice or the principle of giving a group priority over each individual in it. All right. The Arabs before Islam, this is what they were about. In Arab society, when you had children, the children were not those parents' children. It was the tribe's children. And the group, meaning the tribe, goes first. Whatever its agenda is first. African Americans, we've been force-fed individualism, right?
Yeah.
And it's what we are taught in school, is what we are taught in the educational system, is what we taught through the social sciences, or what we are taught everywhere in America. Focus on self. Go to school to get your education so you are able to get a job, right? Now, African American Muslims, when we look at, for example, racism, coming from non-black people, whether it's from white people, whether it's from Asian people. Let's take another look at it from another view. It is one group see you as a threat to that group because each group is looking to benefit itself, right? Meaning that you are its competitive, you're a competitor. And when we are competing for resources, finances, we're trying to make sure that our group effort is winning. So us black folks, when we look at Arabs and the racism towards blacks, you got to understand that's part of the group trying to survive, making sure that the people who they are competing with, it's not going to give them the upper hand, and at the same time, them being on code. What do you mean by being on code? Well, I'm not going to have somebody in our own group giving up resources to somebody else to use against us. Now, Black Americans and Africans, we need to take a good look at this concept because I truly believe, in my view, that the issues that Black Americans have or Black Caribbeans related to the self-hate, and we're not able to do business or work together, collectivism, is because we inherit this behavior from our ancestors in Africa who sold their own people into slavery. You mentioned Timbuktu. Well, we study historically. In Timbuktu, Africans were even selling their own black people as slaves to Arabs and other nationalities. This is very well documented. Black people are the ones who were selling their people. For example, Arabs had slaves, but Arabs are not selling Arabs as slaves to Africans or Europeans.
Yeah,
we need to understand that Arabs had slavery for a long time and had slavery of other Arabs, but we're not selling their people to Europeans. All right, so we have something within us that's coming from our origins in Africa, which still exists today. Why I have some people from Sierra Leone, right? Man, okay, they are so poor, the poverty is so bad, but the country is so rich with resources. But the country, the people are so poor. That goes back into the self-hate. We're still selling out our people. I think if we could really discuss about how we as people, especially in Islam, because Islam teaches this, how to work collectively as a group, I think our people could benefit a lot. If we had a good understanding, we wouldn't be focused on them Arabs too much. You know why? Because if we had it right, them Arabs and white people be coming to us.
I think you hit it when you said we had a good understanding. I think a lot of that come from like a lack of ignorance, and some of that they're promoting, like the brother Bilal said, I think it's like been embellished. Like they say the Africans were selling their own people. At that time, you were a part of your tribe, or what the Europeans call tribe, your nation. That was the nation. Like they didn't see these people as like one of them. They were the others. Just because they all had the same skin color, they didn't see it like that. Nobody ever says that the Europeans sold their own people. The Romans, the Greeks, they all took slaves from one another, as well as other Europeans. Nobody says that. So, did the Romans think they were enslaving their own people, or the Greeks? So,
the difference between that, right? The difference between that and what's going on in Africa is that the African slave trade was the first time in history, right? And up until this day, really, that the slave themselves were considered chattel, and they had no rights.
Yeah, but the question we got to ask ourselves, brother, did the Africans know that right away when they were selling them to the Europeans? Some of them probably
didn't. It was obvious they didn't. It's obvious they didn't because they started gifting. They started gifting the European slaves like a gift, right? Because this is like, you give your slave as a gift, right? So. But they weren't thinking, because slavery in Islam and amongst Africans is not like this devil slavery that white people made up.
Right.
Where the slave has zero rights over their body, over their time, over their like no wealth, nothing. They can't make nothing. Right. The slave themselves, right, can have wealth. Can buy themselves out of slavery. You know what I mean? It's like a sort of type of indentured servant type thing, right? With chattel slavery, that's the first time that even the children of the slaves were born into slavery. You get it? That never happened before. The children of the slaves were slaves. The last time we ever heard anything like that was in the Bible or in the Quran, but with the Beni Israel and Pharaoh and them, right? We haven't seen anything like that since that time. And even the Pharaoh story, even those slaves had rights. Right? Even those slaves had rights. So this is the first time that in human beings who were slaves were not only it was said that they were cursed, the cursed seed of Ham, that they were subhuman, that they weren't even real human beings, all this kind of stuff. This is the first time in history that happened.
Arabs have some of them beliefs about most African people too. Wallahi, I heard this in Egypt from somebody. Arabs have these beliefs also for black people. For example, the Arabs will say, I heard this in Egypt, that Allah made all the prophets, they were white. And there was wisdom of why Allah made all the Arabs white and not black. Wallahi, I heard Egyptian people in Egypt say this.
Right. I mean, that's definitely true. But I agree with your point, Abu Bara, that now that we know, we need to be on the same page. I mean, I done heard Arabs say things like they talked about Luqman, who Allah, as we know, is a surah named after him. They would say he was black, but he was a slave. And I say, how do you know that? I guess they just assume if you're black, you had to be a slave.
Even when I first became Muslim, right, we started hearing these stories coming out of the Arab world. Way back then, the Arabs would send their workers home without paying them for like months, a year, and it's still doing the same thing up until this very day, bro. For them, it's like good business practices. You have all these people, they work, they build your country, and you don't pay them not a single and their salary is low to begin with, and you still refuse to pay them. You get it? Not only that, all these stories coming from all over the Arab world, like all over the Arab world. All right, the only places I could say I really didn't see these stories coming from was like Yemen, Syria. Now we see what's going on with these two countries, right? Right.
But I think we got to keep in mind too, there were always black people that pushed back against this amongst the Arabs. I believe some of them probably just not recorded. I mean, we know about El Jahiz. He used to basically tease them, saying that the blacks were superior to the Arabs during his time, and then and there were always blacks with low self-esteem. I mean, Ibn Jawzi had to write a book, illuminating darkness, trying to get certain Africans to feel good about themselves. I guess they was feeling down. So I think we need to keep that in mind. There has always been like some pushback. I think it's always been people like us. I used to make them mad.
Right. But here's my thing though, right? We don't see that pushback here in the West. As far as I know, the Feachaz is the only channel so far that has pushed back on this consistently, right? And second of all, you have these bones and biscuit Muslims, right, who are going to fight with other Muslims, their Muslim leaders, while black people that look exactly like you, are being enslaved by their people, and they won't say anything. Somebody make it make sense.
A lot of them brothers being in Salafi Dawah. I mean, I don't hold my tongue. A lot of that Salafi brothers. I ain't gonna hold back my tongue. I learned this stuff being Salafi. I don't talk about black issues. The Salafi brothers are doing this. They're only Negroes in America who's holding their tongue back. Oh no, we won't say nothing bad about them. Oh, Sheikh so and so. Sheikh so and so's from that country. Sheikh Rabi is from that. Sheikh Rabi is from there.
Exactly.
Don't talk bad about them.
Exactly.
Some of them even promote that we inform on our own people.
Yeah, and we got to turn snitch and stuff like this. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. Like, so we got all these problems going on with us, like directly, but we are supposed to drop everything we're doing so we can go fight some Muslim leader somewhere We don't speak his language. We don't eat his food. You know, we're not under his protection. We got to drop all that we do and what we going on with us, right? So we can go help you fight some Muslim leader. Meanwhile, your cousins and them enslaving our people. Like, what? You must be tripping. And then you have, and then
Bilal,
you
you know the brother Bilal Abdul Karim. What's his name? Bilal, the African American brother in Syria. Give the news.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about. Bilal, right? His name is Bilal. Right?
Yeah, Bilal. You know, he's originally from New York. He originally from New York. That guy. He's a brother from New York, who's from the Bronx. He used to be a stand-up comedian too. He used to be a stand-up comedian. You know, when I used to see Bilal back in the days, you know, he used to teach here in New York. But you know, when I see him went to Syria, he lived in Egypt for a couple of years. All right, I bumped him a few times in Egypt. Then I see him one day, he's in Syria, right? And I looked at it, and this is not criticizing the brother or his efforts, but I said to myself, you know, black people will go somewhere else and fight somebody else's fight, but won't put the same effort and hardship and go through the sweat and the mud to spread Islam amongst his own people in America.
I mean, but like I don't want to criticize that brother, right? Because I think his work is good, but I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we have a lot of brothers with this mentality. I know some brothers, African American brothers, who got educated Islamically. They don't work as imams and callers in the black community.
I know some too. They're sort of aloof of the issues of their own people when they come back.
You know, they say there's no money here, so they go off to the communities that have a little bit of money.
If you can go for the money if you want, but as long as you're going for the money, whoever pays the piper names the tune. Never forget that. You will always be beholden to your paymasters, which is why it is important that if you want, you know, some real tangible development, you have to stick with the grassroots. You have to stick, because we don't do this for money. We don't do this for the praise of the people. We do this because we love our people. That's why we do this. We are not waiting for paychecks from nobody.
I think that what I was saying earlier, Bilal, when you mentioned only this channel, I don't think necessarily a lot of brothers have YouTube channels, but I think like the sentiment that you espouse on your channel, I think that resonates with a lot of black Muslims. Even their voice is just not heard. So I think like you kind of speak for them. I think this is you wouldn't know that by listening to people like the brother Khalid and the things he say. Like you wouldn't know that, but on the grassroots level, a lot of black Muslims feel the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like with the channel, what you guys don't see in the background is it's like so much hate. You know what I mean? But we don't for the most part we don't address it, right? Because what we do is that we put it out for you guys to see, right? And then you guys can know exactly what these guys thinking about you.
Some of them comment to some people who don't like you come to my Facebook page. I see you talking to the Feachaz about this, and they be mad. I be showing you sometime. I'm like, yeah, man. You must see a lot, man, because they be, and they all Muslims, all Muslims.
Yeah.
Not European.
The things that they don't do is they don't come with no Quran, no Sunnah, nothing, right? We have Allah's book and the Prophet ﷺ, his hadith to back us up and what we're doing. They're not on that. You know what I mean? They're about defending their personalities. Right. That's all they care about, right? We don't care about your friggin' personalities. They can rot for all I care. You know, these people are out here making a living telling you what you want to hear. And so now you live in a world of cognitive dissonance. And when the truth comes to you, all of a sudden your confirmation bias becomes so solid. You know what I mean? You can't handle and then you want to argue with people. Guess I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue, right? If you can stay right there where you are, it's fine. There's no problem. And at least I can see you now. It's better for me because we ain't arguing.
If I know these people the way I think I know them, I think that you giving the truth to them and you're unapologetic about it. I think that if you was in the wrong, They would have been called you out by name or challenged you to some debate. They would have, but they just, they stand anonymous criticizing because that's usually what they like to do. So I figured that a lot of what you said they can't refute it.
No, they can't. And to be honest, we're here openly. We invite them all the time. They never come. It's because they know what's up. They know what will happen to them if they bring that energy over here. Have you watched this channel? What we've done to some of these guys, man? Have you seen how we eviscerated their favorite personality? We're not like these other channels that don't know how to do a refutation. The Prophet ﷺ said, when you slaughter, sharpen your knife and slaughter well. That's what we do here. We practice that, right? So we just have to say something once and that's it. No argument after that. Why I need to bless you with my holy time arguing with you for something that you already know is not true, but you're trying to convince me with all kind of nonsense because you have your confirmation bias. You're going to convince me that your falsehood is the truth. I'm supposed to bless you with my time? You must be tripping. Those shrooms are strong.
Yeah, they taking the other approach with you. We're not gonna say anything. We don't want this to grow. Let's just be quiet and let this guy go away.
Bro. That's exactly what it is.
You want to get these black folks wild up and stuff, man. That's what they be scared of. They scared of black people coming together. That's what they scared of.
That's what it is.
And it's not just the white folks scared. It's the Muslims, them Desi Muslims, some of them Arab Muslims. They scared of black people coming together. They don't want that. They don't want that, man.
You got to remember with black people, right? All these other people groups, now they have an extra salary. They get their own salary from their own because their own people will spend with them. And then they have black people coming in and spending with them too, sharing their time, their money, their whatever. Right? Because we don't spend with ourselves. But we are here telling them, guess what? Guess who's coming to dinner? All right, the Feachaz, right? And guess what he's going to be telling some black people now? Right? Do you know there's a black brother who is selling the same stuff? You should go support him. That's what he's telling them. That's what he's telling black folk. You know what I mean? And I'm not apologizing. Why I need to apologize?
You make a lot of enemies like that, and you make a lot of enemies like that. Just tell black folks, go spend money with your own people. What Muslims gonna be the first Muslims mad about that? The Arabs got the corner stores.
He's a black nationalist.
He's a black nationalist. Everybody who's profiting from black folk and misguided, they don't be the people gonna be mad. Oh, he's telling the black folks don't drink no more, don't buy no more alcohol, go do business with only black folks. Do not do business with people who don't put money back in their community. Don't do business with people who don't hire black people. So, and who's going to be mad with this message? Well, the people who are profiting off the misguidance of black folks going to be mad with this message.
I don't know if you brothers heard of the brothers online, Mufti Abu Layth. A lot of what he say, I don't disagree with it, but I respected him a lot. They had some like a black I don't know what you call it, like one of these conferences with just black Muslims in America. I forgot the name of it. And he said, he spoke up and was honest, and he gained my respect. He said that's good that they're doing that. These other groups, they're not going to help you. They're not going to help you. They don't care about your problems. You guys are calling back home for Sheikh so-and-so to give you a fatwa. He doesn't even care what's going on in your land. And the brother Mudir said it too. He got a lot of hate for that. He's like, you calling Sheikh so-and-so back in Arabia? Bro, he don't know what's going on in your land. He doesn't even care. He's occupied with his people. Oh man, the Salafis came out and they was on his top for a minute.
The Coons came out.
That's what Munir who said that. That's what Munir, yeah. He's right. He's spot on. He's spot on.
I have a story when you got time. I have one story I wanted to say. ICNA, because I know a lot of brothers here in North America, they deal with ICNA, right? Islamic Circle of North America, right? So I want to tell you a true story. It's me and one of my good friends. He's Jamaican. And he's studying Saudi right now. So one day, we were just sitting down talking to Masha how the Desi are very racist. We outside the Masha talking, right? We was praying a lot. We walked out. And he was like how they don't have real good brotherhood and the manners is not there. The Islamic man is not there due to the racism. Well, he was sitting in a restaurant, and this Indian brother came out, and he seen us sitting down, and he said, "Us like, yo, I want to say something to you two guys. I always see you come by this masjid. This is by our house where we live." So he's like, "Yo, listen." He said he works for Yahoo News, who's a journalist. He said, "Don't waste your time with this masjid Ikna." Right? He said they're never going to help black people struggle. They're never going to help the African American Muslim. He said they only for themselves and their own people. Then he dropped the history of Ikna. Who started Ikna? He said Ikna was started by Mount Dudi himself. And Mount Dudi instructed them from Jamaat Islamiyah in Pakistan, who are really people behind Ikna in America. He said Mount Dudi told them that when they're in America, do not focus on giving dawah to black people. Focus on giving dawah to the white people in America. And 2 or 3 brothers told me this before, right? Who've been part of Ikna since the 80s. I was like, yo, that's deep, man. That's deep. So,
how'd they try to justify that? By saying they the dominant society, whatever?
How do you think, man? We gotta lighten the seas, bro. Come on, man.
Well, they think the white folks gonna make it easy for the Desi Muslims in America and stuff like that. The white people got money, right? The white people run the politics and the government. That's what they're thinking at.
This is nothing new. This is like they've been doing this for almost 3.5 centuries now. Right? The same thing with the South Asians, right? I read from the book, what is it? Secret History Between Blacks and Jews, right? And how the Jewish white folks were bringing people from South Asia to be overseers of the slaves in the Caribbean and parts of South America because they were racially distinct and they can handle the weather and they're very obedient, right?
I think they brought them to South Africa for the same reason, didn't they?
Yeah. I read it. I read that part in the book a while ago. Right, that's what they said back then, right? So it's the same type of thing, bro. Like, but for that now, the real question is like, okay, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to say that they're wrong for looking out for themselves? We're the foolish ones for not looking out for ourselves and allowing everybody else to look after themselves off of our backs. That's off of our foolishness.
Right, because it seems like we're like the every other group is sort of like parasites. They all eat off us. You see black athletes, you got some nerdy white guy with no talent, but he puts his kids through college and become a millionaire off you.
It's more like we're the mammies. We are the mammies of civilization, right?
It's like Dr. Clark Anderson said, the misappropriate behavior is black folks.
Inappropriate behavior. Yeah. So we're like the mammies of civilization. So what is a mammy? A mammy, back in slavery times, was a woman who would give her breast milk, and she was even so. We put that out there too, right? We put that out from what's that lady's book? It's called They Were Her Property. They were her property. We put that out there too, that there was a business for a white woman where they would sell the milk of pregnant black slaves to other white women, right, as wet nurses, and these women were called mammies. So they would leave the life-giving milk for the children of their enemy, so that children can go big and strong and call that same mammy nigger as soon as they were old enough to talk, right? And meanwhile, the mammy's children would not get that milk. They would get whatever, was left from milk, right? That's black people, right?
Not only that, even in like the Jim Crow times, they would like raise them and teach them all of this, feed them. They was like the maid, the wet nurse, the nanny, all in one.
Yeah. That's black people. We are the mammies of civilization. We give the life-giving milk that is supposed to be for our children to everybody else so that they can get big and strong, off of our milk, right? And they can turn around and call us nigger. It's happening in the Arab world today, and it's happening in Europe, all over Europe, right? And now Chinese are coming to Africa doing the same thing, right? To get that milk, right? So when other groups are looking out for themselves, right? How are we going to blame them for looking out for themselves?
Exactly. And I think these conversations are like, I think these conversations that you're having is going to play a huge role in the rethinking of Black Muslims. You know, I think it would change our mind state, because some of them, I think, is an inferiority type mind frame. But also with some, it might not necessarily be that. They think that if they go against the Arabs, as you say, they're going against Islam and Muslims. So some of the brothers just trying to really be dedicated Muslims. But I think that the more awareness you bring, like, you know, this has nothing to do with Islam. Follow Allah, follow the messenger. That's Islam. And you start
that's the real you know, all this other stuff, right, that's happening, it cannot work under real Islam. It just can't. But because the Muslims have accepted, by and large, the rhetoric and the education of the enemy that Allah sent them, that's why we're having these problems, right? Allah created us the way that He created us, and in Him creating us the way He created us, that is our dignity. We are the ones who need to act dignified. We can't beg somebody else to give us dignity. You know what I mean? People who, if you are watching, please support this channel. You can support the channel on PayPal. You can send some super chats, right? Support the channel. As you know, we are the Black Muslim grassroots, and we are the voice of Black Muslim people, uncompromising, unapologetic, and we are telling the world that we are here, and they know, believe me, they know. I've seen some big Muslim channels using some of our talking points, right? And I appreciate them using our talking points, even though they don't give us the whatchamacallit, the credit. It's fine. It's fine as long as the work is getting done, right?
Hey, I've been hearing you mention the Nation of Islam a lot, and I thought about something like what Elijah had the slogan, "Do for self," and I've been thinking like real hard, like that's exactly what we need to be doing. Like it doesn't make sense to go and beg somebody else. Like what he was saying was like, you're gonna make Europeans mad in this country, and they're gonna turn on you and start slaughtering you. You try to get them to pass laws saying hire me, not your own people. And he's like, this is natural. Like you should want to hire somebody that look like you or your children instead of sending your children to somebody else to get a job. That's what the liberals are doing. They're actually bringing more hate. You telling me like, you got to hire so many blacks instead of my own people. I prefer to hire somebody that look like me. To be honest, these are the people I want to deal with. But you trying to force yourself upon people. You know, that's you can't respect that, and it's just gonna bring anger in the long run.
But Seema, I want you to look at something. I want you to look at it in an Islamic way now. In fiqh, in the Kitab al-Buyu', the book of business transaction, most books on fiqh is going to start out with, on fiqh of business, is the hadith related to the best way to make your own money, best way your means is by your own hands. It's by what? Working with your own hands. In the book of fiqh and in the business, they're going to give you the hadith related to Sulaiman alayhi salam, that he used to make his wealth by what? Making armor.
Dawood. There was Dawood.
Yes, he is right. He's right. It's Dawood. It is Dawood. Yes. It is Dawood. Yes. Yes.
I think Sulaiman also, that he made his means. I think it's Sulaiman also. I'll look in a few minutes. I have my book in front of you.
That was one of, and Sulaiman was Dawood's son. He became a king because of yeah. But anyways, keep going.
So we should learn the barakah, and is it barakahs in business in Islam. All right. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself was a tajir. He was a what? Tajir. How he meet his wife, his first wife Khadija, because he was doing what? Business on her behalf. Correct? Correct? And he was also known as what? Amin. And the Prophet was also known, this is all part of business in Islam, that he was known as the one who hold people's property. All right? He will hold people's property for them. So in business in itself, there's barakah in it. And the best means of business is making business with doing things with your own hand to make money. So I think that when we look at blacks, black Americans, and we talk about business and doing for self, Islam promotes that. Islam within itself, it promotes it.
Right. Here's the problem with black people though, right? Is that there's too many shortcuts with us. You know what I mean? Too many shortcuts. Black business is the best way to go. You know, entrepreneurship. I agree with you, right? Are you willing to go take the courses, put in the work, put in the time, put in the hours? You know, what black people, this is a disease in the black community, is that they will start things, right, and not do the proper research or education or anything like that to make it successful. You know what I mean? And you see this all the time. Like, I don't know if you watch some of these Black Manosphere channels where the woman, she said, well, for example, Kevin Samuels will ask the woman, well, what do you do, right? And when she goes, well, I got my own business. I sell nails. I sell hair. You know what I mean? In other words, you're broke. Okay. In other words, you are broke, right? You have to be serious. You have to I was watching these Jews, because there's some Jewish channels I subscribe to for this very purpose, for this business thing, right? And one of these guys, he said, the reason why Jews are successful at business is that because they don't try to do it by themselves. They go in any business that they do it as a group, and they don't try to compete with each other. You get it? It's because, and they understand that if I get rich, then all my people get rich. They go in with that mentality. But bad people are always on that individualistic stuff. You know what I mean?
Or they get
all
jealous.
The time. They
or you get jealous and don't want to patronize the business of your brother. I saw that. The Jew guy said we spend money with each other because this guy lives in my community. I know he's gonna donate to my children's schools. We all win.
Exactly. Exactly. Jazakallah khair. Multiply 10,000-fold, Sister Tika. Hayakumullah. May Allah reward you and bless you. Everybody say Ameen. Everybody say Ameen. Don't be sorry, sis. Alhamdulillah. Allah will bless it for you. Don't be sorry. May Allah reward you and bless you. Multiply for you 10,000-fold. Ameen. And may Allah make it heavy on your scales on Yom Qiyamah. Ameen. Okay, I'll give you guys the last words. Brother Abu Barak, go ahead.
Yeah, it was Dawood. I was looking at hadith. It's Dawood. So I think that that we need to do a little bit more, meaning our leaders in our community, when it comes to working collectively in business, because all these things are part of the Islamic sciences, business, economics, and it's like in America, amongst the Black American Muslims, we only at the surface of Islam. We're not like in the core or the meat, and we really need to get into the core and the meat, of the religion, which is doing things collectively as a community. Because if we don't do it, we're gonna lose big time. Our children are gonna lose. So what you're doing is very good, because I see now people are commenting, making videos, and repeating, mentioning you. So it means that people are listening and getting the word.
Without mentioning me. Mention me without mentioning me.
Now I heard somebody said the features. I heard somebody said the features.
Really? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I heard him. He said the features. You got a detail. I seen that video. MashaAllah. So people are, inshallah, people start listening, and because we got to do something. What we're doing right now is going on in our community is not working no more. The lecturing without doing nothing, You know, it's not working.
Like, when you're talking about business is a very serious thing, right? It's something that's very, very serious and should be taken serious, right? If you approach business as a corn in a cup, you're going to get corn in a cup results, right? So for Black people, this is our problem. We think that, you know, we always trying to do something. We don't think big. You know what I mean? We don't think big. Like, get a group of brothers, right? Throw some ideas around. Get the smarter the brothers, the better, right? You know what I mean? And play your role. Even if you don't like what you're doing, do what you can do, even if you don't like it, right? If you want the thing to work, right? And always show up. You have to show up. You know what I mean? And take advice, take criticism. If you're going to be in business, you have to be able to take criticism. You know, otherwise you're always gonna be broke. Yeah, business people are some of the most, you could say, pragmatic people on earth, right? Because they have to be able to be very harsh when they have to be, and they have to be able to make concessions. You know, I can't remember who said it, but they said business is warfare. The more you are into the business, the way that you go into business is just like the same strategies you use in warfare, right? So you have to be, you know, you have to look at it like that, not just, oh, I'm gonna, you know, sell some perfume oils in the masjid and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, this is what we do. You know, we say we selling some perfume oils in the masjid and we call that a business and stuff, man. You know, that's what we do, man. Okay, brother Seema, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. You would think that business should be easy for us because a lot of brothers, you know, they had to like hustle and make a way. But I think that you know, we done sort of lost track of that. And got a little bit lazy. Or I think we don't like trust each other. Like a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this channel, I actually talk to, you know, the people around me in my sphere of influence in real life. And I think that would also help. Like some of this stuff, I think our people just not aware, or they're quick to forget. You know, it's not we have an attention deficit, so they kind of fall off track. So I think that's one of the key things is being consistent instead of drilling it in their heads. And those who are not aware, just try to make them aware. I'm trying to do this, trying to make some clothing right now. Like I gotta get in contact with you, man, so I can send you some.
Shoot me an email. We'll get in contact, inshallah. No problem.
Yeah, but other than that, man, I mean, great channel. That's good that they start to mention you. So maybe other people will come out and start talking, and hopefully, you know, they give credit where credit's due.
Jazakallah khair, hayakumullah. May Allah reward you. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless you all, everybody who joined me tonight. Everyone, my voice again. May Allah reward the brothers who came and joined me on live, on camera tonight. Hayakumullah. May Allah reward and bless the sister Tika. Hayakumullah for your generosity. May Allah bless you and multiply it for you 10,000-fold to make it heavy on your scale. On your subhanallah bihamdihi shada wa astaghfiruhu Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you guys tomorrow, inshallah. We are the Muslim wing of the Black grassroots. Unapologetic, strong, uncompromising voices that have been in the faces of the enemy and those who tap dance for them. The Feachaz is proud to present the archives exclusively on Patreon.